And I hope that you all have that cloth yourself, and if you don't, that this book will encourage you to start creating it. I will be happy to take any questions you have until Lou tells me that I can't take them anymore. So anything that you all want to ask, I'm happy to answer. I know from doing this that it always takes a little bit for the first person to do this, so. All right, good time. Yes, hey. Talk a little bit about my support from Zelma High School. That's Sue Brand. All right, hey, Sue Brand from Madeiras. I grew up in a military community. I went to high school, in an American high school in Japan. Now, that's like taking a bunch of kids out of America and sticking them on a desert island. We had 1 hour of teen music a week, and no television. Nobody drove cars. You couldn't drive a car, so everyone rode the buses. It was like living in a very small town, but nobody went home to see their grandmothers. Everyone stayed in this environment, and what you developed was an unbelievably closely knit group of people who shared the same frustrations with, not having any idea what the fashions were, not having a hometown, and having the same fears about our fathers. In those days, it was all of them were our fathers who were working in a dangerous time in a dangerous place. The bonds that I built then, and then continue to nurture, are bonds that are unbelievably important to me. Sue Brand is here. Who have I seen you since 1966? But 1966. We're talking 40 years. But we still have what I think of as a close and warm relationship. A girl drove up from Richmond the other day. I hadn't seen her in nearly that long, and yet we still have that relationship because we built a strong bridge between us. And after we were no longer had the same, we were not in exactly the same circumstances, we worked on keeping that alive. I love things like email and ways to communicate that way. If I had to write a letter to every person I ever moved 37 times or something, I'd never be able to do it. So now I'm able to do it in a shorthand way of communicating with all these people and keeping those people alive. Part of the book talks about the military community and how close we are. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Alice Baker, and I'm the head of SHARE, which is a breast and ovarian cancer organization. Very interested in hearing how your experiences were reflected in your breast cancer experience, and what worked for you as you reached out and others reached out to you, and what did not work.
Well, thank you very much, Alice, for doing the work that you do. I sincerely appreciate it. I think actually that except for making my breast cancer known, encouraging other people to do what I didn't do, to get mammograms, to do more regular self-examinations, the things that I neglected for too long, I actually was just on the receiving end. Unlike in the grieving community where I was both on the receiving end and the giving end, I feel like at least to date I've been mostly on the receiving end. But I cannot begin to tell you how important it is and how much I understand now my role in this sisterhood of people who've suffered from breast cancer. Because after my breast cancer was announced, I received 65,000 emails, over 30,000 pieces of mail, some, and I mean from, I say in here, the Republican Women's Club of Lakeland, Texas, Reverend Schuler, famous and not famous, and it didn't matter. Carl Rowe. I don't do that during your speeches.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
It's so great. But what I can't there are bad times in this process. I thought I was strong, I could handle anything, but I mean, it knocks you down. Because like running a marathon, you can start out strong and think you're going to do it, but by the end of the marathon, you don't have a lot to go on. So you're going on, on adrenaline or on desire, and I was fueled by the love and support that I felt from this enormous group of people. Now, what that says to me is that now that I'm healthy, that I have an obligation to then be that support for other people. During this, I struggled a lot with the fact that I had great support. I had a husband who no longer had a job, and except husband.
So glad I can.
But what he was husband. He was there every chemotherapy session. If you want to be a good friend to somebody who's who's going through this, make certain that they're not having to go through it alone. That they're not going through going to chemotherapy with their books or whatever, and maybe they're going in strong, happy to get their treatment. They're coming out feeling weak and tired, and if somebody was there with a soda and able to carry whatever they had, or to bring them their car, that would be enormously important. Little tiny things that you can do for people. I had that, but I saw plenty of people who didn't, and I know that insurance pays for some things. This is not that we haven't got the total answer on this by a long shot, but there's a lot of things that are not going to be covered. And part of what I want to do is make certain that I'm part of that network of people who make certain that mothers have health care, or that they have someone to go to the grocery for them when they have no energy. So I have an obligation. All of these things are a two-way street. All of these relationships, you can't just be on the taking end, or your resources are going to dry up pretty quickly. You need to also be on the giving end. And honestly, as I think you could tell from what I wrote to Steve, being on the giving end is its own gift as well. Somebody, yes, sir?
I have no questions. I'm just expressing the hope that tonight I'm in the same room as the next First Lady and the next President.
Now he's glad he came again.